Yes. This is Alan from the Allen Alfred Sports Talk Show. Appreciate you both joining us. And can you both kind of recap the 2025 season and discuss some of the ups and downs of throughout the season that you've exhibited?
Yeah, hey, I'm so sorry. You mind repeating that question, the first part of it?
Oh, yes, sure, no problem. Just wanted to get your overall thoughts of the 2025 season that it's unfortunately come to an end.
Yeah, I'll kind of merge my opening thoughts and answer your question with that one. First of all, I'm very grateful and can't express really just the overall gratitude that I have, to the league, Mark Lillibridge, our GM, for this opportunity to lead this team. I've said internally a couple times, obviously this was a very difficult season, certainly disappointed in our record. But overall, I will look back on a lot of parts or elements of this season with a lot of fond memories. And, what I kind of want to lead with is, how proud I am of this football team. Obviously, it was a disappointing outcome and loss today, as well as, several of the ones that we've had prior. But one thing that I'll say is this group fought till the very end. They were bought in. They were invested. They never let go of the rope. And I'll be forever grateful and proud of that. This team showed a lot of resiliency. When you find yourself in a position that we were in, just overall record-wise, lesser teams would have kind of thrown in the towel, so to speak. And this team never did that. They fought till the bitter end, and I'm really, really proud of their effort. Obviously, look forward to, making corrections and improvements to be better. But overall, I'm very grateful and very proud of this football team.
Coach Pardee, first off, Coach, your defense has had a rough season compared to what it was last year. But how did you feel they played today, especially since they were put in many situations with the mistakes y'all made? But did you think they made some improvements today on that side of the ball?
Yeah, I think, obviously it's a team game, and I think our defense certainly showed improvement in a lot of areas. Just off of looking at the game overall, I think we did a much better job of stopping the run this week than we have in weeks past, and I'm really proud of that. And then obviously, I think we made a lot of improvements. When I say it's a team game, certainly, there are a couple times where we have to play better complementary football. You know what I mean? As far as putting our defense in a better position on the field. Overall, it wasn't good enough, but I do think we made, improvements in a lot of areas, specifically in defending the run.
So do you think that, you had some mistakes there in that second quarter, the fumble and the kickoff return, then the penalty that led to the touchdown? Do you think those were, because y'all were in the game, you struck first with the field goal, got the turnover. Do you think those two mistakes kind of thwarted that momentum y'all had there in the second quarter and changed the game?
I do. And obviously, football is more than one or two plays. I've said this in the past, and really, in essence, this is kind of our season at a glance. Is football comes down to about 5 to 6 critical key plays. Obviously, every play is important, but specifically when you talk about momentum and what that does to the psychology of a football team, I think we just, this game and in games, certain games in the past, we've struggled to make mistakes at critical points in time in the game. You know what I mean? And that kind of goes back to playing good team football when our defense gets a stop, and then unfortunately we turn the ball over on special teams and ask them to go right back out on the field in a short field. That's a difficult position to put a defense in. And so I think, that's obviously something that, I'm going to take a very long and hard look at going into this offseason is, critical penalties and turnovers at really inopportune times. But to answer your question, I do think that kind of hindered some of the momentum there, especially, with the turnover on kickoff return. That we in essence lost a drive offensively there, because we went into halftime having 3 drives and would have had 4 had we had that opportunity. So
and also trying to stop Luis Perez. What challenges did your defense had? Do you think had 75% or over 70% completion rate this game? What challenges did your defense have trying to stop him and get a rush on him?
I'll say this, and then I'll spin it to you if you have something back. I'll say this about this game. Obviously, records aside, and, I'm a little bit biased in my answer here. I think this was a game of two really good football teams. Records wouldn't really indicate that, but when you truly watch the film and turn on the tape, us and Arlington, very, very talented teams. Made too many mistakes, obviously, cost games, different things like that. But specifically when looking at Arlington, Luis Perez is a really good football player. They're a very talented team just like we are. And so I think, obviously when you have a quarterback with the experience level that Luis has, he's been doing this to everybody all year. You know what I mean? He's a very talented quarterback, and obviously wish we would have, handled a couple situations a little bit better. But, overall, I'm proud of the effort. The defense, they were fighting their tails off until the very, very end. And I have so much respect and love for that.
Okay.
Hi, Josh with United Football Media. I'll start with Tavante. Every game you are engaging with the fans before and after, and it's been like that all season, even last year, and I know the fans really appreciate that. I was wondering if you could just let us know where that desire comes from. What motivates you to make sure that you're out there and making them feel like they're part of the team?
Well, first it goes from this league giving us the opportunity to play pro football. Without this league, it's not too many professional football leagues you can play if you're not in the NFL. So to be given this opportunity and to be able to interact with fans, that's just a blessing from the start. And then to be in San Antonio, knowing how much our fans actually care. Some of our fans go to every away game and stuff like that. So it's just, you got to be grateful for those moments. You don't want to take those for granted. Never know what little kid you might motivate to keep chasing his dreams just like you chasing yours. So for me, it's just being grateful. If I hear a fan scream my name and if I'm relaxed and not tensed up, I can look back and wave. That's not too much to do as a human being, just to, give other people some love that they came and showed love for us regardless of our record. So that's something that's just, just being a human and just, showing love back to the people that show love to you.
Thank you for that. Coach Pardee, we know the season didn't quite turn out the way you wanted. Some tumultuous times going through a lot of changes. I just wanted to ask what it was like being able to have the opportunity to have somewhat of a professional mentor like Coach Welsh come on staff midway there and be with you and kind of help you, and what that process was like getting him into the room with you, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach Welch and I, we have a long background together, and he's a coach that I have a lot of respect for. I think he's a phenomenal human being. I'm very, very thankful to him. He's been a big part of my life and my coaching career. We spent 4.5 years together at a college in Northeast Texas. And so I'm very, very grateful for having the opportunity to bring him on board. And he's a guy that obviously he's a really, really bright football mind and has a wealth of coaching experience. But the energy that he brings every single day is infectious. And so, when given the opportunity to bring on, an assistant coach when I was moved to interim head coach, he was one of the first guys that I wanted to bring in. And I thought he did a really good job for this coaching staff and for this team. And he kind of embodies, in my opinion, what a coach is supposed to be. And that being, we have jobs and we are here to serve these players. That's really, in my opinion, the most important thing. It's not about me. It's about giving these guys the opportunities and trying to put them in good positions to be successful, to love them up as much as humanly possible. And I think Coach Welch embodies that, and that's, something that's really important to me. I've, on a personal note, to kind of go along with your question, when I was a player, I've seen what the impact a coach can have on a player, both positive and negative. And so to me, something that I believe is a part of my philosophy, kind of from my granddad as well as from just my own personal experiences in football, having a coaching staff that will pour into, whether it be kids or young men in our instance, that's critical. You know what I mean? Because these players, that, especially on our team, they give us everything. And they deserve nothing but the utmost respect, love, and general care from our end as coaches. And so, obviously I feel really blessed and fortunate to have, Coach Welch with us. And it was a lot of fun to get to bring him on board.
Yes. Yes, and Can you both talk about, I've had a pleasure of covering Caeveon Patton. Can you both talk about Caeveon Patton and his impact to this team?
Well, for me, it's my second year playing with Caeveon. He's a great leader. One of his quotes, he the first that said this season would just be where your feet is, and that's something that our whole team carried, and that's credit towards him for, being a vocal leader, not just a leader on the field, but, of course we miss his vocal presence, how he play on the field, just his energy, first of all, and, it's somebody that we definitely miss, and just grateful to have him as a teammate these last 2 years, and it's not too much negative you can ever say about Caeveon. He shows up to work every day, and it's great to just have a teammate like that. More so then for him to be a leader is just a bonus for us to have. So grateful to have a teammate like that.
Absolutely, and I'll kind of echo and reiterate, Caeveon Patton is the epitome of what you want in a football player. He's obviously very, very talented, but he's a phenomenal human being, a great person, and a great leader, and his leadership was infectious for us this year. And I'll be forever grateful to him for just the presence that he brought each and every day as far as holding everybody accountable, because that's a critical part to me of football is, player-led leadership is a vital element of a good football team. And, I can't say enough good things about Caeveon Patton, like Beckett said.
So.
Hey, Coach. James Larson with Pro
What's going
Football
on,
Newsroom.
James?
Not a ton of positives to take away from this game, but defensively, did get some stops in the second half, and we saw Marcus Haynes make his first start, a late addition to the team, 5 tackles, a sack, 2 tackles for loss. Can you talk a bit about what you saw out of him today?
Yeah, I thought he showed up. He had a great game. I told him in the locker room, I think his best ball is ahead of him, and I'm really, really proud. He was another really, really good, mid to late season addition for us, and I think he provided a little bit of a spark when we needed it. And I'm really, really proud of the effort, that he played with overall. And, kind of going, a couple things that I would like to hit on, in regard to your question, 2 things that I'd be remiss if I didn't highlight from this game. I know definitively Jashaun Corbin after this game is the league leader in rushing yards. And I'm really, really proud of JC. He did a great job today and has done a really great job all season. That's something that I absolutely want to commend. It's a big deal, especially with when you look at his statistics over the course of the year. He kind of caught fire about mid-season. So to see, him take the UFL league leading rusher, quote unquote, single season record or however you want to put that was really, really awesome to see. And then, somebody will have to fact check me, but if I'm not mistaken, Tavante Beckett is going to finish the season as the league leader in tackles for the UFL. And so those are 2 things that I do want to highlight as far as individual performances go. And can't say enough good things about Marcus, JC, and Beckett. Just wanted to highlight those 3 guys.
And then to follow up on that, speaking of those running backs, you had 4 of them active today, ran a bit of 20 personnel. We never got to see Jashaun Corbin and Anthony McFarland on the field at the same time this year. Was that something that was maybe in the works this week in practice, or what kind of went down there?
Obviously it's, at different points in time in the game, that was something that we would love to see. Unfortunately, we had some injuries and things of that nature in that room that kind of, had to midstream adjust on that plan, if that makes any sense. But, obviously would love to have the opportunity to have both of those guys, in the backfield at the same time. But, I think overall each provided a spark when we needed it, and both of them ran their tails off and played hard till the very end.
Appreciate your time, Coach. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tavante.
Last question.
Tavante, you were part of last season's successful Brahmas team. Could you just talk about, what made this season, I guess, struggle for you guys as a defense as a whole?
Honestly, I've just been kind of in the moment so much. I really haven't been able to, look at the stats and stuff. But, end of the day, when you have a lot of success in one year, you're going to have a target on your back the next. So everybody probably was scheming up against us, seeing what we ran and seeing what we was good in last year and seeing what we had success in. And, this year we didn't replicate that. And I really don't know. I can't really give you a clear answer for that one. Things did dramatically change, but, hopefully by next year, we can have all this figured out so we can get back to Brahmas football because, that year last year, that was really us. You know, we was all on the same page. We knew what we was doing, running to the ball. This year, we kind of got away from the little stuff, you know, because we had so much success that first year. A lot of us might have been thinking the league just going to lay down for us, and that was not true at all. So, you know, this is just a little bit of adversity we face this year, but it's only going to make us better. You know, you come back from being the first to worst, that third season, you definitely going to go back up. So we just got to get back to the little stuff. Ain't nothing that they did that we couldn't stop. It was just more on us, you know, our personnel, what we did. You know, forgetting little stuff, jumping off sides. There's so much I can go on about that. Wasn't necessarily coach's fault. It was more on players. You know, we got to, like he said, it's player-led. And we had that mentality since I've been with Coach Wade. So, you know, I put that more on us, man. We just got to get back to doing the little stuff that's going to make us successful and just believing again. We got to get back to believing that we were the #1 defense. We had that confidence last year, and that's why we finished #1. This year we didn't have that much of a confidence. Our swagger wasn't there this year. We just got to get back to it, get back to the small stuff. So.
All right. Thanks, guys.